Hello everybody, it's me, JB, here at the JB Classical channel. I'm back. It's been a little while, as usual with me. It's been a little while, a little longer than I anticipated or wanted, between my last upload, last video, which I think was the second part of my famous opera duets, if memory serves. So yeah, here we are. This is not the normal video. Not going to be watching or listening to any music this time. Next time we will. The next video, if I can decide what to watch, what to cover, what to watch, what to listen to. Have a little bit think about that one. But this is a bit of a different one. This is one I've been hoping to make for quite some time on a related topic to classical music and opera. I mean, directly related. But rather than the music itself, I was going to talk about and would like to talk about people like me, you may be like me, who aren't just content with listening to the music, aren't just content with watching the operas, etc., but would like to delve into the actual technical aspects, the actual music itself, more. Like to actually read the music, read the score while I'm listening to a symphony or something, or watching an opera, listening to an opera, actually sort of reading along with them. Now, of course, it helps that I play, or attempt to play several instruments. First and foremost, the piano, but many of us do as amateurs. So, which means at some point, if you do, like me, play an instrument, you will have had to, at some point, try to teach yourself to learn music. Now, of course, reading along with a bit of music is no good to you unless you can actually read music. So I realise this won't be for everybody, because not everybody reads music. Not everybody who listens to classical music and opera and enjoys it wants to sort of delve into all of this sort of stuff. But if you do, if you already are sort of down the rabbit hole of sheet music and collecting sheet music for the pieces you love, building a little library, really, I suppose, or if you like the thought but don't really know exactly what you're looking for, exactly what to look out for, some of the terms and sort of jargon, I suppose. Well, jargon's probably the wrong word, but some of the terms used on the sheet music and what they mean, because there are things like that which are important to know, which I didn't know at the beginning, and I've only sort of learnt through experience. This may be of interest to you. May be of interest to you. So, what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd start with basically, I don't like saying cheapest, but the most reasonably priced, useful sheet music you can sort of get off Amazon. All of what I'm going to show you, you can, I think almost all of it, you can buy 90% of it off of Amazon. And if you want to, you can go to other places like the Music Room. Obviously, there's Presto Classical if you're in the UK, and there's lots of places that sell sheet music. And of course, here we are, 21 years, 2 decades into the 21st century, in the really in the digital age. Almost everything here can be bought as a digital edition, of course, for your iPad or for, like I have here, your Kindle, Amazon Kindle. I would suggest, though, if you're going to do that, that you have something that's at least in the 10-inch, 9-10-inch mark sort of size screen, basically. The sort of iPad size screen for a sort of standard size iPad. Otherwise, you're going to find it very difficult to follow along and read the notation as you're trying to listen. Particularly things like symphonies, when they sort of, it sort of speeds up, or operas, and sort of flip pages quite quite quickly. So you need to obviously want to read what you see before you. So let's start with. Here we go. Try to be a bit organised here. Let's start with the sort of, as I say, the sort of lowest price point sheet music you get that's readily available. So here we go. If you collect it, you'll know about these. There we are. It's called the Shermans Library of Musical Classics. Very famous. Always yellow. You see that nice yellow, pleasant yellow sort of colouring. Basically, this is obviously the Chopin Etudes for solo piano. And there we are. There we go. So all Sherman covers look like this, really. Got a little floret thing there. Floret thing, is that the right word? There we are. And then if you look at the top, there we go. It gives you the sort of basic information. It says there piano. So this is Sherman's. Now Sherman's library is very well known. It's a very old sort of brand, really, of classical music publishing. These days it's actually owned by the huge Hal Leonard publishing company, and it's the lowest price point. So you're talking about, if you're not buying second hand or used, which you can do, and the price goes down quite considerably, but if you're going to buy any of these second hand on Amazon or something, or used, you need to make sure it's a good to very good condition, which usually means someone hasn't sort of written inside and destroyed passages and bars because they've sort of scribbled over them in pen or something, so that's something you have to sort of make sure you haven't got in a used copy. But this is a bought new, probably about you're talking about the £5 to £15 range, I suppose. Brand new. Now I've got lots of Shermans here. This is Chopin's. This is for solo piano, obviously, being Chopin. Let me just put that there. Yeah, so that's piano. You can get piano reductions. I'll get into what that means in a minute. For if you're a violin player, there we are. Three very famous violin concertos there. This is the actual violin sort of piece, just for the violin without the orchestra accompaniment. There we are. And you'll see there it says, and I'll get into this in a minute. It says violin and piano, I think it says. Okay, so if you're a violinist and you want to sort of learn or read along, sort of help learn a bit. Mozart's flute concertos. If you're a flute player, there you go, flute and piano. And lastly, here's a piano concerto. Mozart's 23rd, very popular piano, and what did I say? Two piano score. Now, everything I've shown you just now from Shermans that isn't a solo piano piece, or just for the solo piano, which was the Chopin, that I showed you, the Etudes. All the other stuff, all of the concertos that said violin and piano, flute and piano, two piano score. What that means is, I'll show you here actually. What that means is, just find it. Right, there we are. Hope you can see this on the camera quite well. What that means is, if you see, there we are. If you see there, we've got piano 1 and we've got the treble and bass clef for the piano, the right and left hands. Piano 1 solo, brackets, and then down here piano 2 orchestra, again, treble and bass clef. So these are two different pianos. So if you happen to have two pianos in your house, which would be very nice, wouldn't it? And you have a friend or family member who's also can read music and play the piano. What this is for is the orchestra part. All the instruments in the orchestra play has been reduced. There's a reduction, a piano reduction here for the second piano, which is why it says orchestra. So your accompanying pianist plays all of this, which sounds same melody and harmonies and all that sort of stuff that the orchestra would play in the actual concerto, while you, who want to learn or play along with the actual solo piano part, play this solo part there, you see. Basically, there's nothing on that one because the orchestra starts before piano, okay, in this concerto. And it's the same for the violin and piano that I showed you. So you've got the violin part, and then there's a piano reduction of the orchestra, or what the orchestra will play. And same for, was it, the flute concertos there. Now, these are at the lowest price point, Shermans Editions, because they're meant really for you at home, me at home, to sort of buy inexpensively, and while we're listening to the music, if you want to just sort of flip through, but mostly because you've got the piano reductions, to actually help you if you're playing your particular instrument, to sort of basically learn, the solo part for the concerto, or if it's just solo piano, the actual piano part. They are not the most accurate, because what they actually are is reprints of older editions, which could be from as far back, originally printed from as far back as the last sort of 10 years of the 19th century, right up until the 1950s, really, 40s, 50s. Again, which is partly why they're so cheap, because it's copyrighted, or it's out of copyright usually, what's in there, so it's not copyright protected. It's so old, so much time's passed. It's usually not copyright protected. As I say, that means it's not. Often the music in there is not as accurate as, say, a professional performer would need it to be. If you're, you want to play the Mozart Piano Concerto Number 23, a professional pianist is not going to use a Shermans edition to learn and memorise the piece from, because it's not going to be accurate. It's not up to date. Basically, it's a bit like if you're studying or practicing law or medicine. Obviously, the medical techniques, the medical knowledge, etc., the law, a century ago to half a century ago, are going to be out of date for the knowledge, legal or medical knowledge now, for now. So they're fun things to have. You can sort of get a basic overall understanding of particularly solo parts and things for keyboard, violin, flute or whatever, but they're not reliable, not performance reliable. The Chopin editions are, from what I hear, the exception to that rule. There's probably not as reliable as you need, but they're quite well regarded. The Chopin sort of Chopin solo piano pieces, editions, editions. So they're worth looking out for. But if you're just sort of looking to get into it and buy your first pieces of sheet music for your favourite sort of bit of classical music or whatever, they're a go-to straight away. But as I say, don't think they're accurate for actual performance or accurate throughout. They've got editors' marks in from editors that were born 100 years after, or 200 200 years after Mozart. So obviously they don't know exactly what Mozart intended, and musicology and research at the time probably didn't know what we know now. Sources, new sort of actual documents by Mozart himself or whatever, or Beethoven or whatever, may well have turned up in the intervening half a century or century, that the people that made these editions originally, musicologists and experts, didn't even know existed at the time. So great to have if you want to start off and sort of have a bit of get a sort of overview of the piece, or just follow along for fun. So that's the Shermans Editions. As I say, they're reductions, but also with the solo instrumental part. Okay. So now we're going to turn to the next sort of reasonably priced editions, which are, I'm going to just move these a minute, get myself sorted out. Yeah. Yes, get myself sorted out. Bear with me. There we go. Again, little red books, but a different publisher. These are, can you see there on the top? Eulenberg Editions. Again, they're yellow, little yellow books, pocket-sized. These are what are called study scores. They are not reductions, they are study scores. Okay, so I'll open one up in a minute. I'll say this one's an older one from the sort of 40s, there's the 40s, I think, 50s. This one's a slightly newer one, so these are the ones from the 80s onwards. They're sort of different paper, feel a bit different, but they're just Eulenberg study scores. Again, like the Shermans, they are not performance reliable, which is why they're partly so cheap, relatively cheap. Unlike the Shermans, these are, let me put the older one there, these are, as I say, study scores. So these are what are known as complete scores. So there is no reduction. So this is Beethoven Symphony Number 9, okay? Right, I'll show you the concerto in a minute. So obviously you get all the usual stuff, the index and contents and things, and a bit about the piece and everything, and its history, and where it fits into the rest of Beethoven's symphonies, etc. at the time. Hang on, so there we go. So the difference is, yeah, this is not a reduction. If you'll see there, we've got the whole score, the whole of bar 1 for every instrument, bar 2 for every instrument, bar 3 for every instrument, the opening bars, and as you'll see with all full scores, I'll just try and move my fingers, always starts with the highest pitched instrument at the top. So we've got the flute there, which is the highest pitched instrument, and the highest pitched instrument within the woodwind section. You'll see all the woodwinds there. And then the brass, then it will usually be sort of divided from the strings by the timpani there, which are the big drums. And then we have the highest pitched string instrument. We have, I'm trying to see here, the violins, violas, cellos, and basses. So that's how full scores go. But it's a reduced packet size full score. Okay. So these are not reductions. So these are literally for you to sit at home, sit on the train, on the bus, at work, at lunchtime, and you've got your iPod on your iPhone or whatever, in your ears, and you want to listen to Beethoven's Ninth, your favourite recording of Beethoven's Ninth, but you like to follow along, you like to follow along to what the orchestra are playing. And in this, you can follow along and see what each instrument's doing, each section's doing. This is a full score. This is what the conductor's looking at, if they've got a score in front of them. This is what a conductor's studied, for all of the instruments. So they're great, nice little books, very nice and good sized. Again, they're not performance quality, because again, these, like the Shermans Editions, are partly so cheap because these are, the newer ones, are reprints of earlier editions, again, often from the 30s and 40s, So not performance accurate at a professional level, but for fun at home, they're recommended. They're very good. Again, watch out. These older ones you can buy, all of them on Amazon. but you have to be careful. It's a very good condition one. You have to be careful about what's been, done inside to them by the previous owners, and whether they've sort of ruined some of the music. So recommend those if you're starting out. You just want to have a bit of fun following along. Just put those there with the Shermans. These are the newer Uhlenbergs. These came out in I think about 2006, 2007. Again, the yellow again, little Uhlenberg sort of logo there. There we are. They're slightly bigger. There we are. See, there's the original Uhlenbergs, the older ones. It's slightly taller, slightly bigger size. You see that? Oops. There we are. So you'd have trouble fitting this in your pocket, but it would fit in a bag or a briefcase or something like that. Again, we've got slightly newer, more up-to-date research from the musicologists. So a bit more, again, I wouldn't call these performance standard. Again, these are for sort of home use, really, to sort of follow along and enjoy. And there we are. Full score again. Full score. I find these newer ones, I find the notation a little bit small for my liking, for my eyesight. I have to put on my reading glasses and even then struggle a little bit. They're clear, but it's a little bit small for me. I know some people struggle with that. And the difference is, unlike the older books that I've just shown you for Uhlenberg, these ones actually have the actual piece on CD to follow along. And I mean, of course, CDs, as I say, these came out originally 2006, 2007. What, 15 years ago, 16 years ago, and in that short-ish time, you've had the sort of digital streaming take off, and CDs seem a little bit, for all of us who've collected them for years, specific recordings, seem a little bit out of date, don't they? But there we are, I've got a few more. There's a Beethoven violin concerto, Brahms violin concerto. But again, quite inexpensive. You're talking about, from one of the used, smaller originals of Uhlenberg books, anywhere from £4, if not a bit less, depending on the condition, but £4 or £5. A newer, smaller one, £10. And then for those Uhlenbergs with the CDs, maybe 10 to 15, depending on what you're buying and how much music's in it, So they're good. Right, just to finish off the lower price point, if you are an opera lover, where are the operas, James? Well, here they are. These are usually published by Dover of New York. Here we've got Tosca. Sorry, Tosca. There we are. This is full size A4. This is full size, big. Really easy to sort of read. I'll show you how to really, it's a whole opera. Basically, there we are. This is a very good used edition from Dover. That's an original artwork for Tosca. I think that's the original poster. Excuse me. From 1900. It says there full score, of course. I've got another one which is Rigoletto. There we are. Oh, heavy. Again from Dover, full score. The artwork on the covers is usually a print of the original production artwork for the operas. Obviously, Rigoletto 1851, Verdi, and Tosca 1900 first performance by Puccini. So talking about half a century between them. Cover this in the last two videos on the channel. To show you what's in here. So these are heavy, hurting my arms a bit. So you've got obviously, oh god, obviously the contents there. There we are. You can see that. It tells you on the front page there. Again, this is as with the Shermans, as with the Uhlenbergs. This is why they are at the cheaper price point. It tells you, I think if you can you read it there? Basically, that this is a 2011 edition, but it's a reprint of the original Italian edition of 1900. So what you're going to have in here is a copy of the 1900 edition, but you've got in 2011 the sort of the details about orchestration, about the actual opera, the index and contents, and then hang on, let's get to there we are. I mean, you can tell the font. There's the 2011 font type, and then we come to the actual. You can see they're completely different types of things. Again, it's full score. Full score. So we've got all of the instruments, including the singer's parts here. There we are, singer's parts, soprano, tenor, and baritone, scarpia. There we are. Again, highest pitch all the way down. So it's quite easy to read along. I'd say not like the others I've shown you, not the highest quality printing. It's just nice quality standard white paper. So the paper's not sort of special. The printing's not particularly high grade, but it's usable. And again, these are not performance quality. These are, again, for sitting at home. If you're listening to the opera, you've got a nice big copy there, full sized, full score, to read along and follow along, which it was great fun. But again, not much use if you don't read music. So not much use to everybody. Alright, let's put those there a minute. So that's the cheaper price point, the reprints basically, I like to call them. All for a bit of fun, really. So let's move on to the sort of mid price point. Now, this is a mid price point sort of stuff you can expect to get. I'm talking to you obviously from the UK, so I don't know how available this mid price point stuff would be if you're outside of the UK. So I'll just offer that little caveat there. So here we have the ABRSM sort of music publication house or wing of the ABRSM. Now, of course, the ABRSM will be the Royal School, the Associated Board of the Royal Schools of Music will, of course, be well known to people inside and outside the UK because it's the famous examining board for your grades, particularly piano grades, violin grades, that most of us learning an instrument will do. So this is their publishing wing, basically. So a lot of their stuff is aimed at learners, at different levels, beginners, intermediate, mostly that sort of thing. So here we have Bach's two parts inventions. This series is called Easier Piano Pieces. Obviously that's the number, and on the back you can see that's all the different pieces you can get in the series. Now, don't get fooled. I've got one here, another one in the series, Easier Piano Pieces, Mozart's early pieces. These are ones that Mozart wrote from the age of 5 to I think about 9, some of his first compositions. In terms of difficulty, and obviously these are both for piano keyboard, you have to sort of, and it's hard to work it out for yourself, but these are called, the series is Easier Piano Pieces. Easier piano. They're not easy. They're not easy. This is, I'd say, beginner level. Not very beginner, but early to mid beginner level. There we are. This, which is in the same series, Easier, is not. I would not say this is beginner level. This is more advanced beginner into perhaps even early intermediate, but then it's Bach, so there we are. But again, very nice. These are not reproductions of earlier pieces. These are not reprints. So this is what this is. These are within copyright. They're copyrighted, basically. These will be copyrighted. They're nice quality. Not nice quality covers. Inside is a slightly nicer quality paper than before, with the Shermans and Eulenberg and Dover. It's also with their ABRSM publications. You can't see it, but there's a watermark on each page for the ABRSM, so you know it's a genuine article. There we are. You've got a more up-to-date explanation from a musicologist, usually an expert on whichever composer you're talking about. Here, so we've got Richard Jones on this one. Richard Jones is quite a well-known ABRSM contributor, musicologist. So he's on quite a few of their actual publications, edited by, talks about the piece, its history, some of the research that might have gone into it. Not so much in these editions, because these are sort of learner editions, They're very nice. So those possibly £10 mark each, brand new. Oh, hang on, my stack of music is about to fall over, which I don't need. So let's put those somewhere. There we are. And then continuing, just finishing off with ABRSM. These are, I think they call these signature editions. There's a signature edition, so you can see the signature there. Reproduction of it. Bach's Klavierübung Part 2, the Italian Concerto and the French Overture. There we are. Again, I think, is that Richard Jones again? Yes. Edited by. And then here we have the complete Songs Without Words by Mendelssohn. Again, Mendelssohn's signature there, reproduced. There we are. Again, nice quality, very nice covers, nice paper. The watermarks inside. Oh, hang on. Ooh, the watermarks inside. Nice quality printing, nice and clear, nice and clean, easy to follow. So there we are. So I recommend these, particularly if you're a keyboard piano player and learner and want something nice that's a little more accurate. Again, I wouldn't call them performance grade. I'll get onto those in a minute. But again, you're talking about, for what I'm just showing, the Bach and the Mendelssohn, it depends on obviously what you're buying, because the Mendelssohn's the complete, it's a bigger book. But you're talking about, £15 to £20, £10 to £20 brand new. But as I say, very nice, bit better quality, and more up to date, more accurate music, really. So now let's move on to the mid to higher tier, and we're going to move on to giant German publishing houses. Everything from now on upwards are from the big German music publishing houses, all of them very famous. We'll start off with, see that there, Breitkopf. It's actually Breitkopf and Hartl. There we are. Very old, well-established German music publishers. I think they were even publishing some of Beethoven's last works during his lifetime, Schumann, all that sort of stuff back in the 19th century. There we are. These are some vocal scores for Bach's cantatas. Again, these are not full scores. They've got a piano reduction of the orchestral part, but then they've got the unfettered vocal parts, solo vocal parts for all of the vocalists, the singers, and the choir. So the piano's there to accompany, rather than having to have an orchestra there each time, So these are usually for like practice, rehearsal, things like that. But again, they're nice quality, good quality paper, nice and clear. Oh, and this time we get into rather than the white paper, we get into the quality, very nice cream. I don't know if you can see that under these lighting. Very nice cream paper, good quality cream paper, very clear printing, up to date research from the musicologists. There we are. to sort of show you what you get inside. There we are. So vocal score, as I say. That's the piano reduction there of the orchestra parts. There we go. Very clear, good quality printing and paper. And then you'll see that on the second page. There we go. There's the actual parts for the singers with the reduced piano part underneath to accompany them. So that's your vocal score. It says in it when you're looking to buy it, or if you're in the shop looking at it, it'll say there. I think you can see there. It says vocal score. So we now get on to an important issue here, a very important issue about performance grade versus non-performance grade. So everything we've seen so far is non-performance grade, really. It's good for following along, or fun for following along with the music, the cheaper stuff, the more reasonably priced stuff. The ABRSM stuff that I showed you is good for starting to play and learn some of the music, but is perhaps not performance standard, up to a performance standard. These, they're performance standard, but like what I've just shown you, they are not what's known as Obertext. Urtext, I suppose. Urtext, if something's urtext, it will say on the front urtext. And what that means is it is as close as possible through the endeavours of expert research from expert musicologists and musicians who have spent their entire lifetimes, working lifetimes, researching every single available source, historical source, to make what you've got in your hand and before you on a music stand or on your piano as close as possible to the original work that the composer, whichever composer that is, actually produced, without any sort of additional editorial marks, without mistakes put in by the publishers and their copyists at the times or in the centuries since, as close as possible to what the composer intended. So they're called urtext. Now this is the first lot that I've shown you, really, quality stuff from Breitkopf and Hartel. It doesn't say urtext on it anywhere, right? And the only reason it doesn't say urtext is it can't be urtext because, as I say, this is not full score. This is a vocal score with a piano reduction of the orchestral parts. So for that fact, it can't be urtext because obviously Bach did not write the piano reduction of the orchestral parts. Someone else has done this for these versions for practice. The vocal parts are what Bach wrote, but again, that doesn't count because then you've got a piano reduction of the orchestra parts. So the vocal parts in this, I would argue, would be performance standard, the vocal parts. But it can't say urtext on it because it's got a piano reduction. What Bach wrote originally did not have a piano reduction. It was full orchestra, full score. Okay, good quality, not too much. These are cantatas, as I said. I think these were about £10 to £15 each. It's not too bad. And portable, not full size, so nice and portable, not too big. Now we move on to Urtext and the sort of pricier upper range, So here we go. This is the next big famous German publishing house, Baron Reiter. You see that there? This is part of their classics range. Blue. They have different ranges. Usually have different coloured colour sort of outers here. Covers. So these Beethoven classics, Beethoven symphonies in Urtext, you can see there, are blue. Say if it's Urtext editions of Schumann's symphonies or whatever, they'd be perhaps all pink, you know, so you can sort of, if on your shelf, you can distinguish quite quickly, you know, where you're going for whichever composer you want, basically, which is quite helpful. Good, nice size. This again, this is a study score, so this is to study, but this is to study not just at home for fun. This is to study because it's Obertext, which means it's basically performance ready. It's performance quality, professional quality. You can rely on this for performance. This is a reduced down, smaller size, so you can sort of fit it in your when you're going about and things and out of the house. This is an exact copy of the full size, the A4 size score of Beethoven's Third Symphony, the Eroica, that a professional conductor would study, would use to conduct. So obviously using the full size, the bigger size. But inside, it's again, let me show you, extremely good quality paper. This is now the highest quality sort of paper you're going to get. A lovely cream paper, extremely good printing, quality printing. You get extensive information about the piece, but particularly about the lengths that the musicologists have gone to as far as research and things go to produce this, how up to date the research is, literally down to in which bars they've sort of updated from the research compared to previous editions, you know, where they've moved notes around or taken notes out or added notes in or changed notes according to any new sources that have come up. So, you know, this is why it's sort of performs. And here we go. So it's a full score again. Like I say, extremely good quality paper, extremely good quality printing. There we are, the whole flute at the top, highest pitch going all the way down again. There is that the piano part. Where's the clavier? I wasn't show the clavier here because it starts later on. There we are. That's sort of, you know, we've measured it. So again, you can follow along with this if you're listening to it at home, but this is also suitable and meant for professional study, basically. Performance standard, you know. So that's Bärenreiter. Their logo is a bear with a star, but lovely quality. I think this would have been, this is just one symphony, of course. I think this would have been about £15 when I got it, something like that, many Christmases ago or birthdays ago. Again, highly recommended, especially if you want to sort of study and follow along, but study particularly for performance. Now we move on to the last, and again, another, probably the greatest, perhaps, German publishing house, particularly for instrumental music, which is Henley Verlag, Henley Music Publishing. Okay, this is a Henley study score, just like before the Bärenreiter. See, it's a smaller size, so it's portable, student edition in German there. This is J.S. Bach. This is the 6 partitas for piano. This is his first published work that he published during his lifetime for sale and supervised as the editor. Now again, the best quality paper. Again, lovely cream paper and the best quality printing. In Obertext, in Henley Obertext, again it's got Obertext there, see? Where is it? Obertext, yeah. In Henley Obertext is professional level, but the quality is fantastic. The actual printing itself is not only very clear, just like with Bärenreiter, but if you go on YouTube, you'll see type in Henley, you'll probably see a video where it shows each of these pages is actually comes from an original engraved plate, hand engraved by an extremely skilled professional music engraver. Absolutely amazing to watch. You know, highly recommend you watching that. I was just amazed. I couldn't believe the skill watching it of the person doing it. He literally engraves each note, everything you see here, onto a copper plate. So highest quality, like I say, latest research from musicologists. This is the industry standard, basically. Now, this is a study score edition of Bach's partitas, so it's meant to be portable and taken around. This is solo piano music, so it's not orchestra. It's not orchestra, not orchestra pieces. Just the treble and bass clefs there, right and left hands on the piano. And here we go. This is an example of the same thing, study score, Henley Obertext, but these are Beethoven's 5 piano concertos. So of course, if I open these up, these are the full score to every single instrument. Obertext, latest research, performance standard. Basically, what your big famous pianists that play Beethoven concerts and things, and conductors study. Literally these editions. Okay, your Barenboims, your whoever you like to name, really. Now the full-size Henley, so those are the study editions of Henley. The full-size Henley look like this. Henley Blue, they call this. Lovely blue. So if you see this colour, it's always a Henley colour, so there's always a Henley edition. There we go. Nice and plain. Again, it will say Obertext. This is Beethoven's 5th piano concerto, but you'll see it says there piano reduction, which is exactly the same as with the Sherman and other pieces where I showed you that were on the Breitkopf and Hartel for vocal score. It's a piano reduction, so it's the same as saying for 2 pianos. It's for 2 pianos. It's just open it up again. All of the latest up-to-date information about the sources and all of the academic research has gone into it to this edition. And then you'll see there, again, extremely high quality paper, then extremely high quality hand etched printing. There we go. So you got again piano 1 solo, piano 2 orchestra. So the piano 2, second piano, is the orchestra reduction, and at the top that is the piano solo, completely unfettered, completely unchanged from what Beethoven wrote for the piano solo. Okay, so that's, and of course these are this size because they're nice and big, so they're easy to follow as you're sitting at the piano playing along, learning the piece, and obviously not needing an orchestra each time in the room. So if you're lucky enough, you've got a second pianist to accompany along. If not, doesn't really matter. So that's the full-size Henley. That's the piano concerto by Beethoven. But you can get it in let's see. Hang on. I've got a violin concerto over there from Beethoven as well. The most famous Henley sort of publications, I suppose, industry standard sort of stuff, are these. Hang on, which are quite big and heavy. They're famous for their Beethoven publishing the 32 piano sonatas. Again, Obertext. This is band 1, so this is a big, thick book with the first 15 piano sonatas by Beethoven. Obertext as close as possible to what Beethoven wrote for each of the sonatas, without additional marks and editorial suggestions from different people over the centuries. Latest academic research in that from musicologists, etc. That's band 1. Band 2 contains the remaining 16 or 17 sonatas. Again, Obertext, there we are, very thick. All of the remaining sonatas. They're probably the most famous and sort of famously used Henley editions. The 2 Beethoven editions of the 32 piano sonatas. If you don't have the money, because they're probably, when I got those years and years ago, over years of Christmases and things as presents, like most of this stuff, I couldn't afford it myself. They were about £30-35 each, so yeah, probably about the same now. If you haven't got that sort of money to spend, you can collect each of the Beethoven sonatas from Henley individually. You'll see this is a very thin Henley publication. This is Beethoven's 27th piano sonata. There we go, Opus 90, which is just 2 movements, so it's nice and thin. But again, top quality paper, top quality printing, from hand etched copper plate. So that's more or less it, except for the priciest thing I have in my collection. This is sort of a bit more niche. This is what is harder to find. It's not printed in the numbers, mass-produced in the numbers of what we've just seen are. It's not technically Obertext, but I would argue again that this is, because of what it is, as original and close to what the composer actually wrote down with his hands at the time for this piece as you're going to get, because this is what's known as a facsimile. So it's from a French historical music publishing company, publish historical facsimiles of composers' works. There we are. It's a Goldberg Variations from 1741. There we go. It's full size. A bit of music on the back about them. Again, extremely good quality cream paper. Hang on, for you. This is the sort of thing you'll typically find being used by historical instrument performers, so harpsichordists, clavichordists, and people in clavichord, things like that. There's lots of information there in German, English, and French about what's in here and the piece itself. There we are. But then you'll notice when we actually get to the piece itself, there we go. It's a like-for-like photographic copy reproduction of the actual document Johann Sebastian Bach produced in 1740 to 1741 for sale to the public as the Goldberg Variations. So it's literally what you would have bought from Bach back in 1741. There we go. And that's Bach's actual handwriting, in his own hand, with a pen, no ruler. The aria, famous aria from the Goldberg Variations. There we go. Isn't that cool? Isn't that amazing? And obviously, people who are historical performance artists on harpsichords and things want to get back to as close as possible the original everything, original instruments, original music in the composer's hand. So they often have facsimiles that they play from. So that's probably. I mean, you're going to find. You find that in sort of. I got that from a sort of a niche historical music shop that we have in the UK. I think that was about £40. Facsimiles are going to cost usually more than the mass-produced sheet music that we've seen, because of course it's going to be a smaller sort of buying public for them, and I say they're often aimed at historical performers or people interested in historical performances. But the lovely things to have, for example, for the Goldberg Variations, I've got that, which is a facsimile. I've got an Obertext Henley edition. Excuse me. I think I might even have an actual digital edition as well. So if you've got a piece you love, and particularly if you're trying to learn it and study it, it's very good to have different types of editions, from different publishing companies. If you can afford it, Obertext edition as sort of jumping off point. And if you can afford it, a facsimile, if you can find one, a good quality one. So yeah, that's nearly an hour. I hope you enjoyed that. My little sort of journey through sheet music collecting as an interested lover and amateur musician in classical music. So, ciao for now. I'll see you next time. Please comment down below. Please subscribe and click the little notification bell if you can, if you'd like to. And I will see you next time. Take care of yourselves. If I don't see you beforehand, Merry Christmas, very Merry Christmas to you, and a very, very Happy New Year. Ciao for now.